Hey guys, I brought a friend. Okay?
When thinking of the GOATs of the directing world, the greatest directors of all time, one thing that becomes clear is consistency. Spielberg, Scorsese, Kubrick, Kurosawa, Wilder, Tarantino, Cameron, Fincher, whoever, all of them have like 3 decades of just tearing it up under their belts. And then there's like Hitchcock, who had like 2 good decades, but he's kind of a creep and he didn't have an Oscar, so. Who else? Michael Bay, Neil Breen, Michael Scott. But there is one director that many people would consider one of the greats that was not like that. He did not have 3 decades of greatness. He did not have even 2 decades of greatness. In the 1970s, Francis Ford Coppola had probably the best decade of any director ever. And then never made a great movie again. Let's see here. Starting in 1972, he had a few feature films before this, but his first big movie and the first of the decade, he began with The Godfather. The Godfather was his first big movie. Okay. Yeah, The Godfather. That was his first big movie. You may have heard of it. Considered by a lot of people to be the greatest movie of all time. It was like the third movie he ever made. Not a big deal. What next? 1974. In 1974, he released The Conversation, which is known as one of the best espionage thrillers ever. Next, also in 1974, he had two in the same year. It's probably not as good since he kind of jammed them both together. Let's see. The Godfather Part 2. Also regarded by some as one of the best movies of all time. Some say it's even better than the original Godfather. 1979. Took a few years because this was the worst movie to film ever. It was so bad, actually, they made a documentary out of it. 1979, Apocalypse Now, which is also considered one of the best movies of its genre. Some people would probably say it's the best war movie ever made. So, that rounds out the decade. Pretty impressive. 4 undisputedly. One of those words. Great movies of their respective genres. And he didn't make any other movies of that decade. I didn't gloss over a couple. Which is just a stupid, good run of movies. Possibly the best run that any director has ever had. He didn't miss for a decade. And he didn't just not miss. He basically drained 4 half-court shots in a full court shots. He wasn't in the stadium. He shot it from outside of the stadium, and it landed in the basket. And then he did that 3 more times. So yeah, he did that. And then he just stopped. He didn't make any more good movies. Well, I shouldn't say he didn't make any good movies. The Outsiders, Godfather Part 3. If you don't know that one, don't be fooled. It's not as good as the other ones. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Tucker. They're good. They're okay. But the thing is, besides those ones, he didn't just make, like, okay movies after the 70s. He made, like, bad ones. And that brings us to the film Jack. I wanted to watch one of the poster child films of Coppola's downfall, and I chose this clusterfuck. Jack is a film about a boy played by Robin Williams whose body ages much faster than normal, so by the time he's 10 years old mentally, he looks 40. Jack goes to a new school full of asshole children that bully him relentlessly.
Are you a freak?
No.
Oh, Jane says that you're a freak.
Who's Jane?
I'm Jane, and I think you are a freak.
Until he buys a group of boys there some dirty magazines and flirts with one of their moms. Then they all become friends as he begins to look for the meaning of life. God. Obviously, it hasn't aged very well, but even for the 90s, this seems like a shit show. Robin Williams is doing his best to seem like a young boy trapped in a man's body, and although I guess I agree that he was probably the best choice for a role like that, it is still often pretty strange and off-putting. Aside from that, the tone is all over the place, switching wildly between a ridiculous, overly silly kids movie and a depressing commentary on mortality that would be a bummer to even the most cynical of adults. But hey, at least there's no serial sex offense. Oh wait, never mind. While you can see some signs of a good director here, this is still a very bad movie, and it's crazy to think that some of his newer films are rated even lower. I just like imagining him going to like a producer with like his fresh new script and then being all like excited, and then it's fucking Jack. A fall from grace like this just does not happen very often. It would be like if Warren Buffett, at a value of $90 billion, lost all his money to a Nigerian prince email scam. It would be like if after countless world-changing compositions, Mozart released a Lil Pump song. It would be like if after winning 3 NBA championships, instead of making history at his famous flu game, Michael Jordan instead just died of the flu. And like, I feel like some people might say maybe he just got lucky with these scripts and he just happened to not get a good script again. But it's like, he's fucking Coppola. He had this decade in the 70s. Like, you'd think every great screenwriter in Hollywood would be like dying to give him their best work to direct. And he has said in the past that he makes different movies now because studios don't make movies like that anymore. But what does he mean? Good dramas? I'm pretty sure those still get made. Watch like 10 seconds of the Oscars. They might not be The Godfather, and I'm not saying like the Oscars are the end-all be-all of good movies, or that the movies that win are even the best, but like every year there's at least a couple great movies that go through the Oscars. I think I'm going to chalk this all up to a big-time loss of passion. In fact, it kind of makes sense why he might have lost his passion for filmmaking. He went through one of the worst film productions ever in Apocalypse Now, where there were hurricanes, heart attacks, and millions of dollars wasted. Which also sounds like a slogan for the state of Florida. Anyway, it's easy to see why a shoot like this would cause filmmaking to lose its luster. And if that wasn't enough, less than 10 years later, his oldest son passed away at the age of only 22. Not to speculate on someone else's tragedy, but I could see that causing some life changes. So yeah, it's understandable why circumstances like that would change someone, and I hope it's obvious that this video is not meant to slander Francis Ford Coppola. He is and always will be one of the best filmmakers in history. And of course, right after I filmed this video, it was announced that he is making a new movie, Megalopolis, with a pretty stacked cast. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was good right after I make a video like this, and then I'd look like an idiot. But we'll see. I hope it's great. That would be awesome. But yeah, that's it. Something I thought would be fun to talk about. Thanks for watching. Peace out.